Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. Now this story actually was sent to me by a viewer who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They wanted to share their haunting and paranormal experiences when they lived at this old house. Now for those of you who live up in the cities in Minnesota, you guys might know this area, but if you do, please keep it to yourself. And if you also want to share your stories like this, I'm sure there's plenty of you guys out there who live in haunted houses right now. Please send them to the email in the description below. And before this video starts, remember to leave a like and subscribe. I really want to purchase more alcoholic adult beverages. So if you guys want to help a brother out, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And without further ado, enjoy the story. This happened when I was still in school. I don't want to say the street name because people still live in that area, and I don't want to have anybody trying to go there just to look at the house. It was one of those older neighborhoods in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The kind of place where all the houses were close together and most of them looked like they had been there for a long time. Some houses had broken steps, some had old fences, and some had windows covered in plastic during the winter. At night, you could hear cars passing by, dogs barking, people yelling outside, and sometimes the occasional police sirens. So when we first moved there, my mom was worried about people breaking in. She was worried about us going outside too late, and she was worried about the basement windows and the garage door. The house was a small rental house on a corner. It had 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 small bedroom downstairs. My mom had the downstairs room. I slept in the living room for the first few weeks since I didn't really have my own space yet. My younger brother Ku took one of the rooms upstairs, and my sisters Lena and B took the other room. My dad wasn't living with us at the time, so it was just my mom and us kids. I was the oldest, so I had to help with a lot of things. I helped carry boxes, I helped put the beds together, and I helped my mom check the locks every night. The house was not nice, but it was what we could afford. When we first walked in, nothing looked scary. It just looked old. The floor was scratching up, the kitchen cabinets were sticky, and the basement smelled damp. The upstairs hallway was narrow, and the stairs made noises when you walked on them. There was one step, I think it was the second one from the bottom, that always made a loud creak. At first, we thought it was funny. It became a pretty normal sound in the house. For the first few days, everything was pretty normal. We had boxes and junk everywhere. My mom was cleaning up the kitchen, my brother kept complaining that his room was cold, and Lena was mad because the closet in her room was too small. The only thing that I noticed was the smell. It smelled like wet clothes. Not like it was really rotten, but like something had been left in a washer-dryer for too long. We opened the windows when we could, but it was cold outside, so we couldn't leave them open for too long. My mom bought some air fresheners and put them in every room. Those didn't really help. The smell always came back, especially near the basement door and the upstairs hallway. At first, I thought that maybe it was just because the house was old. That was what we kept on telling ourselves. It was old, and that was all. The first weird thing that happened was about a week after we moved in. It was on a school night. My mom had gone to sleep early because she had work in the morning. Ku was upstairs in his room, and Lena and B were in their room. I was sleeping on the couch in the living room. I remember waking up because I heard somebody walking upstairs. I did not move right away because it sounded normal. Someone could have been going to the bathroom or getting water, and the upstairs floor was loud, so even small steps sounded bigger than they were. But the footsteps didn't go to the bathroom. They went from Ku's room to my sister's room. Then they stopped. And then they went back the other way, and then it stopped again. It sounded like somebody was walking back and forth in the hallway. so I sat up a little and listened. The whole house was quiet except for that walking sound. I thought that it was cool, so I texted him. I wrote, "Why are you walking around?" A few seconds later, he wrote back, "I'm not." I thought he was joking, so I told him that I could hear him, and he told me that he was in bed. Right after that message came in, the footsteps stopped. Then I heard the second step from the bottom creak. That meant that somebody was on the stairs. I looked toward the staircase from the couch. It was dark, but I could see the shape of the stairs because of the streetlight coming through the front window. No one came down. I waited, and nothing. And then the step creaked again, just one time. I wanted to turn on the lamp, but I didn't want to see anything, so I just sat there with my phone in my hand and kept looking at the stairs. After a while, I told myself that it was the house, that old houses make noises and the heater was on and the wood maybe it expanded and shrinks when it's cold. That was what I told myself. The next morning, I told and asked my brother about it. He looked tired and said that he heard it too. I asked him why did he say that he was in bed, and he told me it was because he was in bed. My sister was sitting at the table eating cereal. She said that she thought she heard someone open their bedroom door too. My mom looked at all of us and told us to stop scaring each other. She said that the house is old and to not do anything to freak each other out. So we stopped talking about it for a while. But after that night, I couldn't sleep facing the stairs anymore. The next incident was with the basement door. The basement door was in the kitchen. It was one of those old wooden doors with a hook latch near the top. My mom liked that because my youngest sister was little and she didn't want her opening the basement door by herself. The basement was unfinished. It had a concrete floor, a washer and dryer, some old shelves, and a furnace in the back. There was also a small room under the stairs where the landlord had left some old paint cans and a broken chair. Nobody really liked going down there. Even during the day, it felt bad. I don't know how else to explain it. The basement was always colder than the rest of the house, and it had that wet smell stronger than anywhere else. But still, we used it because we had to do laundry. One afternoon, my mom told me to switch the clothes from the washer to the dryer. I went down there with my phone light because the basement light flickered sometimes. While I was putting clothes into the dryer, I heard something move behind me. It sounded like a paint can sliding on the floor. I turned around fast. Nothing was there. The paint cans were still against the wall. I thought that maybe the sound came from upstairs, so I finished the laundry and went back up. That night, while we were eating dinner, the strangest thing happened. While we were sitting in the kitchen, we heard the basement door knock. It knocked 3 times, this quiet and soft knock. You almost didn't hear it if you weren't paying any attention. Once we heard it, everybody stopped eating. My mom looked at the door and asked who it was. At first, we thought that someone was at the back door because the back door was near the basement door, so I got up and checked. Nobody was there. I turned on the porch light and the yard was empty. Everything was dark. So I came back and sat back down. Then it knocked again. Those same 3 soft knocks. This time, we all knew that it came from the basement door. I tried to act normal, so I got up and stood by the door. I thought that maybe it was the furnace making all these noise and making the door shake. Right when I thought about that, the hook latch lifted by itself. It lifted just enough to make the metal click. Then it dropped back down. Nobody said anything. I didn't open the door right away. I just stared at it. Then, my mom told me to go check downstairs. I didn't want to, but since I was the oldest, I had to do it, so I grabbed a broom from the corner and opened the basement door. The air that came up was cold. I turned on the basement light and walked down slowly. My younger brother followed me, but he stayed close behind. He had his flashlight on his phone, and we checked behind the washer, behind the shelves, and under the stairs. Nothing. Not a person, no animals, and none of the windows were open. Then, my brother pointed at the floor near the furnace. There were wet footprints, small ones. They looked like a child's feet. They started near the furnace and went toward the stairs, but they stopped halfway. The weird part was that the rest of the basement floor was dry. There was no water anywhere else. I checked the pipes, I checked the washer, and I checked the drain, but nothing was leaking. I decided to touch one of the footprints with my finger, and it was cold. That's when my brother told me that we should go upstairs. I agreed, and we got back up, and my mom asked us what it was. I told her that it was nothing. I especially didn't want my youngest baby sister, B, to hear about the footprints. But by now, she was already looking at the basement door. Then she said, "The little boy came up." My mom told her to stop talking. B looked confused, like she wasn't trying to scare anyone. She just said it like it was a normal thing. After that, things started happening upstairs more. Ku's room was the worst. His room had a small closet and a little door near the floor that led to a storage space under the roof. We called it the crawl space because you couldn't stand up inside of it. You had to bend down or crawl inside. When we first moved in, we put extra blankets and boxes in there. A few weeks later, Ku started putting the boxes back into the hallway. I asked him why he was doing that, and he told me that something keeps on touching them. I laughed because I thought that he was being dramatic. Then he told me to look inside. I opened the small door and shined my phone light in. The air inside felt colder than the room. It smelled bad too, kind of like old wet carpet. There were scratches on one of the boxes. Not big scratches, just small lines like somebody dragging their fingerprints or fingernails across the tape. I told my brother that it was just probably mice, and he asked me where were the mice then if it was mice. I didn't really have a good answer for him. That night, he slept with his lamp on. The next night, he decided to sleep downstairs on the couch. My mom got mad because she said that he had his own room and he did not need to sleep in the living room. But my brother told her that the room felt wrong. My mom just told him that he was scaring himself. However, a few nights later, we all heard it. It was around midnight. I was watching something on my phone in the living room. My mom was in her room and my sisters were already asleep upstairs. Then, we heard scratching. It was coming from above us. Slow scratching, like someone dragging their nails across wood. My mom opened her bedroom door and asked what it was. I told her that I didn't know. Ku came downstairs for a few seconds later with his blanket. His face looked pale. He told us that it was coming from the crawl space. I went upstairs with him because, of course, my mom told me to go check. The hallway was cold. The bedroom door was open and the lamp was on. The little crawl space door was open too, even though Ku said that the door was already shut. I walked over and quickly opened the door and stepped back to look inside. I was expecting there to be something there, or maybe a ghost crawling in there, but it was nothing. just boxes. However, one of the boxes was turned around. I knew that box was facing the other way because the label was now facing the wall. I shut the crawlspace door and pushed a chair in front of it. That same night, I heard the chair scrape across the floor. I did not go back upstairs to check up on my brother. In this house, the first person to really see something clearly was Lena. It happened on a morning before school. My mom was in the bathroom getting ready. I was in the living room tying my shoes because I had to leave for work. Ku was still upstairs and my youngest sister was asleep. Lena came downstairs to get some water. I heard her say, "Mom?" Then she said it again. I looked up and saw her standing near the kitchen entrance. She was holding a cup and looking toward the sink. I asked her what she was doing. She asked me where did Mom go, and I told her that she was in the bathroom. Lena looked back at the kitchen and told me that Mom was just standing right there. I got up and went into the kitchen. Nobody was there. The back door was locked and the window above the sink was closed. The kitchen light was on. I asked her what she saw. She said that there was a woman standing at the kitchen sink with her back turned. The woman had dark hair and was wearing a light sweater. Lena thought it was our mom because Mom always stood there in the morning washing cups or making tea. Lena called out to her, but the woman didn't answer. Then the woman moved to the side. Lena said that she moved behind the fridge. It was impossible because the fridge was in the corner. There was no doorway there and no space to walk behind it. I checked anyway. I pulled the fridge out a little and I looked behind it. There was just dust and a few old things on the floor, but nothing else. I don't even know why I did it because there would be no possible way for someone to hide behind the fridge. I told my sister that she was just probably half asleep. She looked at me and told me that she was wide awake. That was all she said. Later that day, when my mom came home, Lena told her about what happened too. My mom did not look surprised. She just told Lena to not talk about those things at night. That's when I noticed that my mom had been seeing things as well. She just did not want to admit it. After that, my youngest sister, B, also started seeing the woman as well. At first, it was just small things. She would stop by the stairs and look up. She would wave at the hallway when nobody was there, or she would smile into the kitchen doorway. One night, before bed, my mom told B to say goodnight to everyone. B said goodnight to me and all my siblings and my mom. Then she turned toward the stairs and said, "Good night." My mom asked B who she was talking to, and B told her that she was talking to the lady. We all looked at the stairs. Nobody was there. My mom told her to not say things like that, and B just said that she was right there. So I asked her, what did she look like? My mom told me not to say anything, but B already answered before I could stop her. She said that her hair is wet. Nobody talked after that. Another time, B was sitting at the kitchen table just coloring in her notebook. I was washing dishes and she looked past me and said, "Why is she sad?" I turned around and the kitchen was empty. I asked B who she was talking about. She pointed to the basement door. She said that the lady is looking for the boy. I felt my stomach drop because I remembered the wet footprints in the basement. I asked her what boy, and B said that it was the boy with no shoes. My mom heard that from the hallway and told me to stop asking questions. That night, my mom burned something in a small bowl near the front door. I don't know exactly what it was, but she said it was just to make the house feel better. She walked around the living room, kitchen stairs, and basement door, and she told us not to laugh and not to ask questions. The house smelled different for a few hours. Then, by the next morning, the wet basement smell came back. During that time, we still had a house phone because my mom wanted it for emergencies. It sat on a small table near the kitchen. Almost nobody called it except for relatives or people who wanted to collect bills. One evening, we were eating dinner when the phone rang. My mom answered and she said hello. Then she stopped talking. She looked confused. She said hello again, and then she hung up. I asked her who it was, and she said that it was nobody. A few minutes go by and it rang again. This time I answered it. At first, I only heard static. Then I heard breathing. I said, "Hello?" And there was no answer, just static. Then the line clicked and it went dead. The phone rang 2 more times that night. We did not answer it. Each time it rang twice and it stopped. After that, my mom unplugged the phone before bed. A few nights later, though, I woke up because I heard the phone ringing again. It was around 3 in the morning. I came out of the living room and saw my mom standing in the kitchen. The phone was ringing, but the cord was unplugged from the wall. My mom was staring at it. I walked closer and it rang 1 more time, and then it stopped. My mom picked it up slowly and put it up to her ear. I could hear the dial tone. She then put it back down and told me to go back to sleep. I didn't know what to say. I just went back on the couch, but I couldn't really sleep. After the phone calls, I started having dreams about the house. The first dream was not that scary, but it stayed with me. In the dream, I was in the living room sleeping on the couch, just like in real life. The room was dark, but I could still see the kitchen because the kitchen light was on. I heard the basement door open. Then I heard wet footsteps come up the stairs. I wanted to get up, but I could not move. A little boy came out of the kitchen and stood near the TV. He looked like he was around B's age. He had dark hair and no shoes. His clothes looked wet at the bottom. He did not say anything. He just pointed upstairs. Then I heard a woman crying from the hallway. I woke up right after that. When I opened my eyes, I was still on the couch. The living room was dark. The kitchen light was off. But just from where I was and where the couch was, I could see that the basement door was open. I stared at it for a long time, thinking that my eyes were playing tricks on me since it was still dark. I wanted to believe that I left it open earlier, but I knew that I didn't. My mom always made sure that it was latched because of B. I mustered up the courage and turned on the lights and got up quickly to close it and latch it. The next morning, I told my brother about the dream. He said that he had a dream as well. In his dream, he was in his upstairs room, and that someone or something was inside the crawl space whispering his name. He said that the voice sounded like Lena, but when he opened the little door, he saw a woman crouching inside with her hair covering her face. He said he woke up before she looked at him. Those were some of the weird things that we had, but by winter, nobody wanted to sleep upstairs anymore. On most nights, my younger brother and I slept in the living room. My sisters slept on blankets near the couch. My mom let it happen even though she used to get mad about it. I think that she was scared as well. She just didn't want to say anything about it. One night, it was very cold outside. The windows had ice around the edges, and the heater kept on turning on and off. We were all downstairs during this time. My mom was in her room, Ku was on a couch, and my sisters were already asleep on the floor. I was lying near the front window because I could not sleep. At around midnight, we heard running upstairs. Not walking. No, it was running. It sounded like a child running from one bedroom to the other, back and forth. Koo sat up right away. Lena woke up and grabbed my youngest sister. My mom opened her bedroom door and said, "What is that?" Nobody answered. The running stopped at the top of the stairs. Then the second step from the bottom creaked. Everyone froze. That did not make any sense. If someone was upstairs, we should have heard them coming down the stairs, but only the lower step creaked. Then the first step creaked. It sounded like someone was almost in the living room, but nobody was there. My mom told all of us to get our shoes on. Her voice was quiet, but it scared me because she sounded serious. We grabbed our coats and shoes fast, and my youngest sister started crying. My sister Lena was trying to put on her shoes while she was shaking, and Koo just kept looking back at the stairs. Then, the basement door knocked. 3 soft knocks. By now, my mom yelled at us to go, and we all went out the front door and sat in my mom's van. The house looked normal from the outside. The porch light was on, and the upstairs window had a small light on from Koo's room. The street was pretty quiet except for a few passing cars. We sat in the van for a long time with the heater on. Nobody talked much. At one point, a police car drove by slowly, and my mom told us to not wave it down. She said, "What are we going to tell them?" And I think she was right. What could we say? That something that we couldn't see was running upstairs? A door was knocking by itself? None of that sounded real. After almost an hour, we went back inside. The house was quiet, but the weird thing was that all of our extra shoes, you know how Hmong houses are, we have a bunch of shoes, all of our extra shoes were lined up at the bottom of the stairs. They were not where we left them by the door. They were all lined up neatly, all facing upstairs. My mom started to cry when she saw that. That was the first time I saw her cry because of that house. After that night, I wanted to know what happened in that house. As the eldest son, as the eldest sibling, I felt like it was my duty to protect my family, and I felt hopeless in that matter. I searched the address online, but I couldn't find much about it. I only found old rental listings and old pictures of the house. I found some police reports from the area, but nothing that clearly said that something happened inside of the house. There was, however, an older man who lived next door. Let's call him Mr. Allen. He was outside a lot, and even when it was cold, he liked to smoke on his porch and watch the street. One day, I helped him shovel some snow from his sidewalk. After we finished, I asked him if he ever knew anything about our house. He looked at the house before answering. Then he told me that a lot of people have lived there. I asked if anything bad had happened there, and he said that bad things happen in every house around our neighborhood. I thought that was all he was going to say, but then he kept on talking. He said that there used to be a woman who lived there a long time ago with her kids. He said that people on the block heard yelling sometimes, and he said that the ambulance came more than once. And he told me that one winter, though, the house sat empty for a while. I asked him about what happened to the woman, and he shook his head and said that he didn't know. Then I asked if he knew if there was a little boy. He stopped looking at the house and looked straight at me. He asked me why did I ask him that. I told him that my little sister kept on talking about a boy by the basement door. Mr. Allen got quiet. Then he said in his kind of accent, "Kids see things. Best thing is don't talk about it." After that, he went inside, and that answer kind of freaked me out. Now, by this point, you might be wondering why we didn't move out right away. And obviously, the reason why is because we didn't have the money. My mom and I were really the two people taking care of the bills, and even then we struggled a lot. I know a lot of people would say that they would leave if they ever saw something like that happen to them, but it's not easy when you have bills and school and work. My mom could just not break the lease and try to find a new place the next day. So we stayed. For a few weeks, things got quiet. Most of the paranormal activity seemed to have died down, strange enough. I started to think that maybe whatever my mom did with the smoke that last time might have worked. Then, the last thing happened. It was morning when I didn't have school or work. My mom was at work, Koo was at school, and Lena and B were supposed to be at school too. I was sleeping on the couch when I heard B laughing in the kitchen. I opened my eyes because that didn't make any sense. B was not home. I sat up and listened, and I heard it again. A little laugh. Then I heard a girl say my name. It sounded like my sister Lena. I got up and checked the kitchen. Nobody was there. The basement door was closed, the back door was locked, and I even checked my mom's room. Empty. Then I heard the voice again. "Ying, come up here." It came from upstairs. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and looked up. The hallway was dark, even though it was morning. I don't know why, but the upstairs always felt darker than the rest of the house. I told myself that it was probably my imagination. Then I heard a knock come from Koo's room. One knock. I don't know what overcame me, but I decided to go upstairs, even though I really shouldn't have. Koo's room was open. The little crawl-space door was open too. The chair that I had put in front of it a long time ago was moved to the side. Inside the crawlspace, I saw something purple on the floor. It was Lena's keychain. She had a purple keychain on her house key, and she kept it clipped to her backpack. I crouched down and reached inside. The air was cold and the smell was strong. It smelled like wet clothes and mixed with something sour. I reached farther until my fingers touched the keychain, and right when I grabbed it, I heard breathing behind me. I froze. It was close. It sounded like someone was standing right over my shoulder. I slowly looked down at the floor behind me, and I saw wet, bare feet. They were there, standing right behind me. Water was spreading around them. I couldn't move. In that moment, I panicked and I pushed myself backward so hard I hit my head on the doorframe. When I fell onto the floor, there was nobody there. The floor was dry. There was no feet, no water, and no person. However, the purple keychain was in my hand. I ran downstairs and called my mom on my phone. I don't remember everything that I said, but I just remember telling her that we had to leave the house. When Lena came home from school, I asked her where her key was. She said that she has lost it for a few days and was wondering where it went. Then I showed her the keychain and told her that I found it in the crawlspace. I told my family about what I saw when I went upstairs. I swore I could see from the corner of my eye right behind me the woman standing there. But it was just too strange to even almost believe. Even now, I'm not too sure if what I really saw was something real. Eventually, we were able to go and stay at a distant relative's house. It was pretty hard since my dad was no longer in our life, so we didn't really have a support system. My mom had to really call around and ask if there were any relatives willing to take us in. Eventually, we were able to move out and move to a new place, and this place is pretty normal. Nothing that was as freaky as the old house that we lived in. Now that my siblings and I are much older now, we still talk about what we saw and experienced when we lived at the house. My mom now has a new boyfriend, and whenever we tell him about the house, he gets really freaked out. Whatever it was, I am glad that whatever lived at that house decided to not follow us to our new place. But if you live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you live in one of those old neighborhoods, you might know what I'm talking about. Even more of a reason to avoid those old houses, especially in the Twin Cities up there. I've been through a couple of those neighborhoods, and trust me, they're a little sketchy. Some of them feel even like dangerous to be in. Like I felt like I turned down the wrong road, and any minute my car is about to be jacked, and I'm gonna lose all my cash. But luckily, nothing has ever happened to me, and I want to keep it that way. I just like to stick around the same areas, same places that I already know. But man, just hearing that story was freaky, especially that last ending part where he just went upstairs and checked the crawl space, and he saw that figure of the woman standing behind him, and then when he panicked and looked back, she wasn't there anymore. That's pretty freaky. Like, sometimes I think I see stuff at the corner of my eye, but that is even more frightening. But let me know what you guys think about the story in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe. And YouTube's telling me that you might like this video on screen. And without further ado, I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.